Hi, I'm Marco Rubio. It's my privilege and honor to serve you here in Washington, D.C. in the United States Senate. Well, this week we're celebrating the one-year anniversary of our Constituent Mailbox video series. Over the past year, we've responded to over 70 constituent letters, with folks viewing our responses on YouTube more than 50,000 times. We've answered letters from all over the state. One is from Albert, who lives in Lakewood Ranch, Florida. Orrin, who lives in North Palm Beach. John in Ponte Vedra Beach. Nicholas from Miami. Donald and Ruth, who live in Green Cove Springs. Dan in Jacksonville, Florida. Milena, who's in Fort Myers. Our last letter is from Vance in Tampa. We've discussed a wide range of important issues. The subject is vacation with question marks. You've got to be kidding. Their subject is pass a clean disaster relief bill. The reason why I'm writing you is as a Boy Scout merit badge. He writes about excessive government spending regarding business and government reform, about our need for oil independence. Her subject is Trafficking Victims Protection Act. Our final letter is about budget cuts. It's been a big hit, and it's helped show you that we do read these letters, respond to them directly, and take your views and opinions seriously. Here's one memorable example of the kind of enthusiasm it's generated.
And we are lucky enough to be joined tonight by 14-year-old Will Hinson, budding political journalist. Will, thanks for coming in.
No problem.
So what did you think about Senator Rubio's response to your question?
I thought it was amazing that he took the time to even respond, that he realizes that there are people out there with real opinions and real things to say. Just the fact that he took the time to respond was completely amazing.
I hope you're all enjoying this series as much as I have enjoyed doing it. I want to thank you for continuing to write our office about the issues you're so passionate about. So let's kick off the second year of the Constituent Mailbox series by responding to some letters on the issues that we've been grappling with for some time and will be with us the rest of this year, even though they require urgent attention. Well, one of the emails that we're getting a lot about, and the one I want to focus on this week, is something that's been termed Taxmageddon, and it basically talks about the fiscal cliff. Let me explain to you briefly what it is if you're not aware of it. What happens is the so-called Bush tax cuts, the current tax code, is set to expire at the end of the year. What that basically means is that everybody's taxes are going to go up at the same time, and by that I mean everybody, middle class, upper class, everyone. In addition to that, the Obamacare taxes kick in at the same time. So all these tax increases combined with catastrophic cuts in defense spending is just some of the things that people are calling Taxmageddon. It happens here at the end of the year. We're starting to hear a lot about that in the emails and letters that we're getting. For example, Roland in St. Petersburg writes, "Senator, please offer Floridians your assessment of the, quote, fiscal cliff and the prospect or likelihood of legislative action to avert this looming situation prior to the November elections." Someone else writes, Mezzo in Orlando writes, "My concern is about our looming fiscal cliff. Who is the voice of reason in the Senate demanding that this be worked out? I think you should be that voice. Get behind what Chairman Bernanke said, and for both parties to get this done." Well, Roland and Mezzo, let me tell you, I have been talking about this issue, and not last week or last month, since last year. In fact, in February of 2011, shortly after I got elected, I said that the whole debt limit debate was the perfect opportunity for us to begin to discuss some of these issues in a meaningful way. One of the things I talked about is tax reform. Because to me, it's not about just how low the tax rates are. It's about predictability. It's about allowing people to know what the tax rate's going to be next year and 10 years from now, so they can plan for business, so they have the confidence to invest in the American economy. We desperately need that. And here's the good news. Everybody here agrees. Republicans and Democrats, there is extraordinary bipartisan support here in the Senate in favor of the idea of tax reform. But here's the bad news. It doesn't come up for a vote. If you would have told me 2 years ago when I got elected that 2 years would go by without any action whatsoever on tax reform, regulatory reform, energy policy, health insurance, and the long-term debt, I wouldn't have believed you. I said, there's no way. These issues are so important. They're so big. People are calling out for attention so much on these issues. There's no way Congress can go 2 years without addressing these issues. That's exactly what's happened. It's really wild, but every single week here in the Senate, we have votes on all kinds of things, but not this stuff. It's all about messaging and talking points, and there's always going to be a place for politics in politics. But what about these important issues? You know what's really scary is that while everybody around here seems to walk around thinking that it can wait until after the next election, that's not true. Businesses have to plan right now over the summer and in the early fall for next year. They're not going to wait for the election to decide how many people to hire next year. In fact, many businesses start their fiscal year in October, which is before the election. So the good news is there's a lot of us who feel that way, and we're going to continue to press for action. The bad news is I'm not very optimistic, because unfortunately there's just too many people around here that care more about the next election than the next year or about our economy in the near term. And I do worry about that. But I'll continue to do my part, and I appreciate your support in that regard. I will continue to call on action right now on tax reform, and I'll work with anyone who wants to do that. Democrat, Republican, whoever. I will work with anyone who is serious about solving this problem. Because after all, while I am a proud conservative Republican, I love America more than I love my party. And I think it's important that we act now for the good of our nation. Well, I want to thank all of you for continuing to write us and email us. Every single week we go through our emails and our letters, and we always pick a couple that are most indicative of what we're hearing about that week, and then we read them on the air. So we read these letters, we look at your input, and it does affect the way we vote and the positions we take on these issues. And it especially affects which issues we take on. If we're hearing a lot about it, we know it's important. So keep writing and keep emailing us, because who knows? Maybe next week, yours will be the one we read on the air. Well, thank you so much for the privilege and the honor that you have given me to serve you here in the United States Senate. I'll see you again next week. Until then, may God continue to bless all of you and your families. May God bless the state of Florida. And may God always bless our wonderful country, the United States of America. Thank you.